shoot.
Wow.
And he was saying he used to see a whole bunch of white people standing there laughing, taking pictures. And he used to say, what kind of person, what mentality would it take for a person to see another person brutally being killed and sit around and use it as a spectacle, bring their children around, take pictures, have fun? What kind of mindset would it take for that to happen? And then he said Charlie Kirk died, and now it's starting to make sense. Because now I'm seeing black people taking this thing for a spectacle, laughing, not having any sympathy for his family, making a mockery out of a man's unjustified killing and making it seem okay. And if we as black people can do that, how can we feel angry when the white people did it when we were getting lynched? And in their eyes, we were less than human beings, we were scum, we were animals. So how can we feel outrage over that when we ourselves, when given the opportunity to show ourselves better, we are failing at that task?
Hmm. Yeah, I get that. Well, anyway, y'all man know I like to see things from both sides, eh? And
No, no, no.
while
I totally understand how people feel because the man did have a lot of racist undertones in some of his talking points. But
but
come
it's
on.
not just that though. I'm saying there's a okay, put it this way, right? It's the reason I was just thinking about it that way. It's kind of like it's a life for a life, right? So the rationale is your views, um, your views lead to laws that lead to people killing others. So
Mm-hmm.
you dying is
Part of
saving
what
the
you wanted.
it's saving the life of other. It's kind of preventing the continuation of this.
Not
Uh,
really.
no, I'm just saying that's how they think. I'm not saying I agree. I'm just
Yeah,
saying
yeah, yeah. It's fair logic.
that it's like a continue no, an ending rather of this rhetoric that, hey, yeah, whatever Daman say is the reason why we suffering. So the fact that Daman quiet now, good vibe.
Yeah, we are right.
Yeah, and so
Yeah,
that's kind of,
that's fair logic.
yeah, scary.
That's fair logic. Uh, the thing about that, and that's more of the concern to me. We're coming to a place where, as a culture, we're okay with somebody getting shot and we don't agree with what they're saying,
Right.
and
Well, yeah,
that's
yeah,
very concerning.
yeah.
When that happened to Kevin Samuels, that was the first man. You all know who Kevin Samuels is, right?
That's true. That's true. That is a
Right.
great example.
When it happened to Kevin Samuels, I was a bit
Great
concerned, and I
example.
was like, it's just women. Yeah, I felt comfort, and I was saying, man, it's just women. Logical people wouldn't. And now I'm seeing it happening here, and I'm seeing people I know, people I had some modicum of respect for. They're going online and they're making jokes and laughing at the death of a human being. That
Yeah.
it puts me in a strange place in terms of hope for humanity.
Yeah, no, I get that. What I'm saying is I suspect that it comes from one's perception of justice as well.
A
That's
person,
the point I was making. It's the because we would I would rejoice for the death of a rapist. I would rejoice for the death of a child
well,
molester. I would
even
rejoice,
then, I'll tell
whichever
you
I choose.
why, bro. Even then, I cannot do it because knowing what I know inside, here's the bigger picture with the death of a rapist and a child molester. Usually, most times, right, we put men as perpetrators and women as victims. We never peel back to figure out what started that, and it's an endless cycle. That person who let's start from the rapist, the person that the rapist just violated, that individual has an extremely high chance of becoming a rapist or a deviant themselves. Now they
Yeah,
will go and do
I see
something
your
to
point.
somebody. Right. Now that person will go and do something to somebody else, and all of a sudden, the victim family will now look at that person. Boy, I wish that man would just die. but we never go to step back and figure out, okay, what brought us here. If all we think about is death as a means of dealing with trauma and stuff like that, we will never get trauma out of our society.
Yeah, I get that. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the rapist had a reason for him doing that. He was messed up as a child. Somebody did something. Let's see how we can help him. Let's see what we can do to bring him out of that. Instead of just saying, boy, kill them man, cut their balls off, that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah,
We
yeah.
never say that.
I get that.
We never say that for women, by the way. As soon as it's a woman who's a violator, all of a sudden, but you have to think about what she went through. What must
Yeah,
have happened to her?
right.
All of a sudden, we understand. But for a man, it's like, oh, on purpose you do it, kill him.
No, I get that. I get that.
Yeah, yeah. Now let's start the real questions, bro. Let's start the real question. I don't think any Christian should be a fan of that.
And I get that. That's why I hope you all, well, I think yeah, the two of y'all should understand. If you want to talk morals and scripture, then it's black and white. Right? But I had to talk about nuances.
Yeah,
Um
I get that, bro.
yeah, but black and white for me is cut and dry. You can't argue that. But I what I'm saying is nuances helps you to see not just how you feel and why your view is superior, but it looking at the other
Yeah,
side helps you see.
look at it from the perspective of the other person who's been affected.
Yeah, so that's kind of why. But yeah,
Yeah, I
in
get
terms
that.
of the Christian perspective, and I actually did I think that was my first theory acts. Um, Dwayne, was it you? I think you that sent me that video too. Yeah, you were the one that sent me that. Yeah, that's crazy. Look, yeah. So the that view mm, on capital punishment. Um, and I was going through the Bible I was going through the Bible and showing how um God always wanted punishment to match the crime, right? And the problem he had was he did not want the other human beings to be the ones to administer capital punishment, right?
Yes, you
And the
carry it
reason,
out.
right? And the Bible says the reason why. Let me the How do I explain that? Basically, he was saying 40. You know how the Bible says Paul was beaten 40 stripes, save one.
Hmm.
This is that's from Deuteronomy, right? And the law basically is that no matter how heinous the crime was, no one was allowed to be beaten in 40 stripes, right? So you could beat them with 39 today, beat them with 49 tomorrow, but you cannot beat them with 40 at once. And the biblical rationale for it was um lest they dehumanize the person they're punishing.
Right.
Let's put it that. So based on based on that biblical principle, I don't think capital punishment should be it should be the something that people look forward to, something that people like call for passionately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that should exist in the Christian realm. Only, in other words, only God is able to exercise absolute power and still maintain
Proper
absolute.
judgment, proper judgment as well.
Yeah,
Because a lot of times when we call for stuff like that, we're not calling for justice. We're calling for appeasement. We're emotionally looking at I want to feel better for what just happened. That's not judgment.
fair. That's fair. Yeah, yeah,
I mean, sorry, that's not justice. And when you look at Christ's method of handling it, it's not giving us what we deserve. It's basically him trying to reform, him trying to to see us get better or to make it out. That's the whole premise for the marriage covenant and everything else. He wants us to be in a better place after we mess up, not just for us to mess up and get punished.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, the other side of that issue is Romans 13, 1 to 5, where the Bible indicates that God literally gave the sword to the rulers. And what that basically means is that it is actually God actually, how do I say that, delegated punitive power to earthly governments. All right. So by delegating earthly that punitive power to earthly governments, they well, that's how Paul puts it. He says that they don't carry the sword in vain. In other words, they're not carrying the sword and then you want to cry when they use it. It is literally a terror unto those that don't do good. That's what the Bible puts it. Okay. So it means then that there is a level of punishment that should be consistently administered to match the severity of any given crime. Yeah, so that's why you find, like, when people say, okay, taking a life, the punishment for taking a life should be taking a life. You have the civil laws in the civil laws in that God gave to Moses to the Israelites, right? The eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth. And people say, you see, that's what the Bible stands for. Whatever you lose, you should lose it too. Whatever you take from someone, you should lose it as well. But what they don't realize is the context of these civil laws was literally to regulate slaves. You understand? We were slaves for 200 years plus. So they will not automatically adjust to the Ten Commandments. They need civil laws, not to reform. That's what the Ten Commandments are for. The civil laws is to put a check on their potential evil. So, like, for example, divorce. That was a civil law. That was never a moral law. It's a civil law because of the hardness of their hearts. You understand what I'm saying? So
you get it.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. So God accommodated to the hardness of their hearts by exercising laws that appeal to your selfishness as a way to at least stop you from doing the worst kind of evil.
Okay.
Right.
That doesn't mean he was in agreement with the practice, but in order for there to be some,
that's correct.
In order for there to be some kind of civility and some kind of structure, that had to be in place.
Yeah, and that's why God would have given Moses the instructions as opposed to writing it himself, because to write it himself implies that it is eternal,
permanently.
Eternal and universal, and that's not the case at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I think the main idea here is that life belongs to God and only He should take it.
Yeah. I don't believe as human beings, us killing other person's chin moves the needle in every direction. All you do is seal the person's fate who made a mistake. Yeah,
right. Bro, let me tell you, and in the context of the gospel as well, the mere fact that salvation is possible as long as there's life.
Yeah.
Boy,
that's another reason why a Christian should not be in favor of capital punishment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
fine. When you have let me ask, I just ask this question, right? So for fellas that just always give in trouble, like how like as a society, right? Like, let's see, like how do you deal with men like
incarcerate them, bro?
Oh, just incarceration?
Yeah, we are talking, bro. Remember, your topic was capital punishment. We're not taking the life of someone for what they did.
Okay, fine.
That is literally the furthest right of the spectrum. But bro, punish them, incarcerate them, remove their car and everything, bro. Come on. But we're just saying don't take
Now,
the life. That's all.
Okay, fine, fine, fine.
now,
Uh,
now, as my thing about going too serious with the punishment. A lot of persons are punished wrongly. So when you see the flaws in the justice system and how many men were given serious punishment and given the death penalty, and they couldn't even rescind the death penalty even after the person or the accuser came forward and said they lied, and evidence was given to show that the person lied, but because of the way the laws were formulated, the death penalty couldn't be reversed. That person had to die. So when we hold hard and firm to certain things and say, do that, I still wouldn't do that. My whole thing is rehabilitation. Instead of creating prison systems, we need to be more serious about rehabilitation, about getting persons reformed, about making
Like,
more
yeah, but
productive members of
boy,
society.
I mean, I understand that, Marvin, but boy,
Yeah, it's
I
very idealistic. It's very idealistic.
no. I don't even find idealistic. I talking about, bro. I get raped. You getting free education, free counseling, free food, free and bro, I don't even hate that, bro. And that's
Right.
where like,
I
bro,
agree.
that's pissed me off,
Because
bro.
in your mind, it's not fair. How did this
Yeah,
happen to me? And nothing bad is happening to that person. And now we're
yeah,
coming into the topic of the prodigal son. That's literally how the other son felt.
yeah,
Yeah? This man messed around and what? They killing the fatted cow. This man getting food. They clothing him with a tunic. He coming back. My inheritance getting split. What? But I've been here. That's literally what the parable of the prodigal son was trying to dissuade. We
yeah,
sitting here thinking of ourselves as good. God said there is none good, no, not one. But at some level, you're trying to put yourself above the person who committed sin and pointing the finger at them.
right. I get that. I get that.
but
Now, when we have that,
oh, go ahead, go ahead, no, go ahead,
when
go
we
ahead.
have the story of the prodigal son, and we sit back and think, how am I going to be like that? That's your brother come back. You should be happy. And I keep telling people, all of us have that inside of us. And
Yeah,
don't think I'm talking to you all from a healed place and I perfect in that. I have it too. It's just that I recognize it when it comes up. And I've been saying that in my past presentations. We are all fighting against the programming from the devil, and we don't know it. The Bible said in the
yeah,
very last days, even the very elect would be deceived. And when people hear that, every time somebody hear that, they always put themselves in the very elect. Listen, I've never heard somebody quote that and didn't think that they were the very elect. Nobody quotes that scripture and think that they are not the elect. They think if there's 100 persons being deceived, I'm in the top 1 percentile, not me. They will be deceived, not me. And that's the nature of deception. The nature of deception is that you will never know you're being deceived. If
yeah,
you know you're being deceived, you're not deceived. That means you're knowingly doing something. But deception is you don't know you're being deceived. And right now, Hollywood is deceiving all of us, fooling us with a view of the world that is satanic. Hollywood is teaching us Satan's character, is giving us Satan's gospel. And we sit and watch a movie, and then you see one of the good persons praying, God, get me out of here, and bah, they shoot him. He gets his brains blown out, and the person shoots him, said, there's no God here but me. What does that do to your mind? All of a sudden you say, boy, you mad if I about to die, not pray, I pray, Check it, I make sure I take a gun, I make sure I fight until my last. We are being shifted into thinking what's right is wrong and what's wrong is right.
yeah,
The whole narrative of scripture and the gospel is turned on its head. And instead of us spending more time in the gospel, we're spending more time in Satan's gospel.
yeah,
So when persons think about capital punishment, they're thinking, yeah, boy, and they're thinking about all the movies they watch where they give the thief a chance and they go back and do more things, or this man rape, and we have all these cruel examples in our head from fictional stories that have been crafted to send our hearts and minds in a certain direction.
right.
And that's where we build our ideals on. Instead of building it on the Bible and what Christ said and what the gospel says on how structure was placed in Israel and the love and the character of Christ being
Right.
put into the very laws of the country. We shift away from that and we base everything on what the movies tell us or what life is.
Yeah, man. Wow.
So
Wow. Wow. Well, I just wondering on all your men just to give it like.
Yeah, it's a lot. I said a lot,
Yeah,
my bad.
yeah. No. That's good. That's good. That's good. Um, I don't know how to transition that into.
bro, that is the point of the board experience. Man, just talking about anything.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Wow. Okay. So then, I guess a starting point, a nice link could be, since we're on the topic of marriage, punishment, and all kind of things. Right? What do you guys think is the best way to deal with a partner that's constantly doing something that you dislike? I mean, let's put into tiers. So it could be, I guess, tier one could be something light, maybe.
Just now, are you referring to marriage, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's different rules for a relationship and marriage.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I
Okay.
had to make sure. I had to make sure.
Well, no problem. Well, let's start with one in the context of a relationship, and then for in the other dimension where we deal with marriage. So for both contexts, let's put like a little test system. So tier one, maybe it's like a pet peeve, you know. The person is doing something you really don't like it, but they just keep doing it over and over and over again. Maybe tier two could be a little more serious. Like is the thing that they're doing is seriously damaging, um, the relationship. So yeah, that's for both contexts. So the marriage relationship, and like you know, uh, boyfriend, girlfriend, or courting relationship. We could even, to make it more interesting, we could even throw in the concept of the arranged, the arranged marriage. Like I guess maybe before it happens, because I'm thinking before an arranged marriage happens, you would, I guess, get to know the person. You can correct me if I'm wrong, right? But
Yeah,
yeah.
well, there were different situations, but generally the children would know that that person is who they're going to get married
Fine.
to. They
Okay.
would spend time with the families would spend time together. That's how it generally happened.
Okay. So yeah, fellas. So I think that's a nice link, a nice transition from what we discussed. And yeah, let me hear what you guys think in terms of handling issues like that. Yeah. Was I clear,
I
or do I need to, you want
well,
me to?
what just now? What you ask? Are you asking me what I would do? What is best?
Or everything. So what you would
I
do? What do you think is the most ideal thing to do?
You notice he made a distinction between what is best and what he would do, right?
I know.
So
I
so
know.
that means this guy know the right thing to do, but he will still tell you. uh,
boy,
this man is something else, but
gotta be honest, bro.
facts.
Gotta know.
Good.
Alright, well, alright. So depend on the level. Like, okay, if bro, just now. But how I end up there in the first place, though?
Like,
Because
uh-huh.
if I'm married and my wife produces a a top like a high level red flag deal breaking flaw, right? Like like if it's already at that point, is it something I've never seen before, or is it something I already knew was coming and I was just in denial during like dating and right? Because I think that's the important question. Because if
Okay, okay.
it's yeah, because if it's something that I've never seen before, um, then of course I would suggest we gonna do counseling one time because we married already. We will make that work.
Okay, fine.
We will make that work. Honestly. Uh, secondly, I would ask myself if correctly evaluated, is the flaw really that bad, or is the flaw a trigger of a past trauma? Right?
Okay.
Because sometimes what is like it might not be something bad, but if it is something that I went through for my entire childhood, then I will consider that a red flag for me or a deal breaker for me because it's a constant trigger for me.
Okay.
All right. So let's give an actual example. Let's say nagging, right? Nagging is I think it is an essential part of the female DNA, right?
Wow.
And bro, that yeah. So
Wow.
now for someone that I think a normal individual, that not be a problem, right? Because it means that my wife sees that I have a greater potential to do better, to be better. So she's simply pulling me up for doing what I'm supposed to do, for doing what I said I would do. However, my past experience makes nagging a trigger for me.
Okay.
So I'm saying so that's why I'm saying that if there is a problem that exists, then I have to first ask myself if it is is it her problem or my problem? That'll be my first step. If I can objectively view and find and discover that it is not my problem, it's an actual flaw that she has, then let's talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, man, let's do some counseling. Let's see how we could figure it out because we are already married. So there's no other option.
Right.
We're working that out. I don't tell no story. So yeah. But in terms of, if I'm in a courtship or dating, I already know I get enough for the rest of my life. I'm out, bro. Out.
Okay.
So yeah, so that's a difference for me in terms of the relationship status, what is best and what I should do.
Okay. Okay. What say you
Just to make sure I have a clear understanding of the question, you're saying, what do you think is the proper, what should be the proper course to take if you're in a married relationship, you're in a marriage, and something happens that you don't like, or there's habits or something that you don't like? That's the question.
correct. Yeah. So you
Right.
could if you yeah. So what would be the ideal
The proper course to take.
yeah. Or
How would you handle it?
yeah, and you can even if there's a difference in terms of the way you would handle it, you could see what
Yeah. Okay. I'll be real with you as a man. That's a hard thing. Even as a practicing therapist, that's a hard thing to rationalize when you're in it versus good practice. Even if you know what good practice is, when you're emotional and you're upset and something is going on in your mind, it's a difficult thing to put the actual steps in play. Yeah. But so what I'll do is tell you how what best practice is, and I'll tell you how to stop yourself as a man when you're about to deviate from best practice. How about that?
okay.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Fair.
Right. So, best practice. Something is happening that you're annoyed with. We need to run it through a process. Have you communicated that to your partner?
Right.
Does your partner know what's happening, is annoying, and it's affecting you? If the answer to that is no, well, boom. First step, communicate. Let's have a conversation about why this keeps happening in the relationship and let it know that it's affecting me. You don't like it. You would hope it's something that could be changed. Now, there's a question of whether or not um, the way you're feeling is justified. Well, your feelings are justified. Whether it is rational is a different question.
Okay.
Yeah,
Um,
because you might. What happened there?
I need help with that. I was a difference between justified and rational because to me, if it's
Right.
not rational, it is
Hold
justified.
on,
Huh?
hold on. No, no, no. Your feelings are just your feelings. Your feelings. Your feelings are your feelings. Feelings are not meant to make sense. I need people to understand that feelings don't make sense. That's just your psyche reacting to a situation. You react with feelings. Yeah?
Okay.
Feelings are not meant to make sense. Yeah, that's just how you feel at the moment. So while you feeling it, I'm like, hey, that's messed up. I'm really sorry that to happen to you. But I mean, I'm not going to slam dunk on you while you're going through an emotional process and tell you, hey, that you feeling? You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I want you to be with me. You cannot force someone to have rational feelings.
I
It's
mean,
impossible.
you can teach them to think,
You can teach them to think, but thinking is not feelings, Bishop.
but you think
It's not,
before you feel.
nah, not at all, sir. Not at all, good sir. Boy, I know how much I always fight. You ever take a hard slap to your face for no reason?
That could never happen to me. Bad man,
boy, boy,
bad man, man. That could never happen.
boy. Now you see how you just answer that without thinking.
Could never happen to me.
You
Yeah.
see how you just answer that without thinking. You answer
Nah,
that with your feelings.
I think fast, bro. That not
Nah,
happen.
yeah, and that's inaccurate. It can happen to you. A police officer can pull you across the table and just slap you one time. That
I
he
go wait
doesn't
for
have
it.
to be justified.
I go wait for it. But,
Yeah, but I'm telling you, I'm just using that as an example.
no,
But
I know,
we
I'm just being troublesome. Yeah, you're
but
right.
fair. But the same way you just answer that without thinking, that's what feelings do. Feelings will just are impetuous. They'll just jump in and take charge. It's after you think about it, like, yeah, that was some dumb shit. I really shouldn't have done that. You with me?
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. So we can't put feelings in a rational box and expect people to feel the right way. Some people have to learn how to deal with that. It's not something that'll happen. Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
So right, but shucks, so did I stop?
So you were saying that even if your feelings are justified, even if it's not rational.
No, your feelings are valid, right? Your
You use
feelings
the
are
word justified. But
yeah, yeah. Well, if I do that's not the word. Your feelings are valid,
Mm-hmm.
right? All feelings are always valid. They might not be justified, but they're valid.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
okay.
however the person is feeling, they're feeling. So she does something to you. In your mind, boy, how could she do that? Whatever. Whether your feelings are just that's what I said. Whether your feelings are justified or not is another question altogether, but they are valid.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a conversation with her concerning that, and if you are justified in what you do, then it's a conversation about how do we go forward. If we do love each other, what do we do so this doesn't happen again? We don't find ourselves in having these miscommunications or finding ourselves at odds with each other. And if you're with a person who's open to that, then hey, listen, you're in a relationship that will grow. If you find something happens and you bring your feelings to that person and you realize your feelings are being invalidated or the person is that's a baby you are man, men not supposed to do that, and you find that you're being belittled instead of taken seriously, ah that's going to be a hard marriage to be in,
Yeah.
right? And we're talking from the context of marriage. So
Yeah,
I I'll put the warning in there. If you see that happening in the relationship, don't make that relationship a marriage.
Right.
Yeah.
yep.
If you see that happening in the context of it, don't make that relationship a marriage. It'll just get worse.
Okay.
So
Yep.
for men who are experiencing an issue in the marriage, she's doing something you don't like. You had that conversation, it's changed. Boom, we'd have nothing to come. Exit the loop. You're doing fine. Something's happening. You're being invalidated. You're being ignored.
Mm.
Let's add a friend or a third party that you and your partner feel comfortable with and have that conversation. Because it could be that your female partner has a point and you're way off. Yeah?
Okay.
It could be that no matter how deeply you feel about it, it could be that what you're experiencing is not within the realm of rationale and she has a good point and you're way off. So have another party. I'd suggest a counselor. I would suggest a religious elder, somebody you can trust with your personal information.
Mm.
That intercession with another. That's what the Bible says, literally. If you do not agree, bring a third party. Yeah,
Mm.
you're with me so far,
Yeah, man.
Yep. Yes, sir.
right? So you have that person in the middle there trying to bring some kind of common peace. I would recommend a counselor because counselors know what to look for. They know how to navigate the situation. They know how to bring peace to these kind of aggressive discussions, I should say.
Mm.
So boom, we have that. The other thing I would tell men in terms of relationship is sometimes when you find yourself at a heavy when you find yourself in a place where you think your partner is doing something wrong, do some introspection for yourself first. Yeah,
Mhm.
do some introspection, and that might be an opportunity for you to apply grace to the situation. That might be an opportunity that God is extending for you to grow. Sometimes it's not that big of a deal. You just want your way and you want it like that. And that goes for both men and women. Sometimes you just want your way and the person not giving you your way and you feel like the person is not understanding, the person is not compromising, whatever the case may be.
Mhm.
That just might be an opportunity for you to apply grace to the situation and you might grow through that misunderstanding or through that problem.
Mhm.
But I need people to understand in those situations, when you're talking about marriage, you already went before God and tell God the only way you're coming out of there is through death. That's what you did. Yeah? You went before God, you brought a pastor, you had a nice big wedding that you had to take a loan for, God forbid, and you had a fancy wedding cake with a chocolate fountain and 500 guests, and you had a big display before God that this is going to last forever until I die.
Yeah.
And now you have a problem in the house you want to divorce. How lightly do we take our vows before God? Yeah.
Yeah, the question.
Yep.
Now,
Mm.
unfortunately, it's women most often getting divorced. And then you had a question, well, if the man will behave and he wouldn't divorce, which is a cop out, really and truly. But how lightly do we take those vows? Now, if you're in a relationship with a woman, you see those signs. These are red flags for you to jump off that roller coaster real quick. Yeah, you have to make a decision as to whether or not you want to see it go all the way. But it's the decision is yours. Yeah, men
Yeah.
control the gateway to marriage. You don't want to have to go on one knee and pledge that this woman will be yours forever. So I hold you responsible for whatever marriage you're in. Ultimately, you're responsible for it. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So now that we in the marriage, you can tell me you want out. Out is not an option. The option is how can we make this work?
Yeah.
Yeah? We're in a
Yep.
system where Christ is covering me as a man, I'm covering my wife is covering the children. Christ has never given up on me in that chain of command. No matter how many times I mess up, no matter how many times I fall into idolatry, no matter how many times I do not measure up to the standard that He set, He has never given up on me. So why am I going to give up? on the woman that's disappointed me less than I've disappointed Christ. Now that's the biblical. That's that's the biblical the framework, right? As men, we don't have much emotional intelligence. We find ourselves in places where things happen and our emotions are the ones taking control before we even think.
You're saying you're
Yeah,
referring to the average man, right?
yeah.
Right.
Bro, you can say what you want. You in it
I'm
too.
saying, bro.
We in it, bro. Even those
We
that think themselves, even those that think themselves above average, they fall to it. Yeah,
yep.
they fall to it. In fact, I think the more intelligent a man is, the more he's a sucker in terms of emotional understanding.
Oh,
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
you think so?
yeah, yeah,
For the inside edge,
yeah.
like
I get I
Hear
get
me?
it, you know.
I don't get it.
I think his point, well, what I understand is, right, as a more intelligent man, it's much easier to get pissed off by
Ah,
stupid people and emotional people. So
Yeah,
technically,
because
your
here's what I
anger,
tell.
because of the disconnect, is an emotional reaction to the fact that there's a disconnect. So
It goes even deeper than that, Trev. Here's why. Anytime you're not in control of your emotions, somebody else is.
mm,
Yeah.
okay.
So if you can allow your partner to trip you off so often, she's the more emotionally intelligent one in the relationship.
that is
Because
wild. That's wild. Bro.
hey, I giving you facts, bro. I'm
So
giving you
then,
facts.
but so if I am the more annoying one, I'm the one that causing all the problems. I'm the more intelligent one because I
That's not
push
what
it
I
on.
said. That's not what I said. Now, remember, Trev, remember when you were in the vehicle last time and you said one line and you triggered your partner on that was sitting next to you?
Oh, yeah,
Remember that?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
You remember that, right?
yeah.
To those listening, y'all weren't there, but we were in a vehicle ride. I was taking Trev to a program we were having, and he just threw out one line in the vehicle, and this girl that was sitting next to him, listen, he caught a whole fish. He jumped. How you could say that? Da, 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 da. I just started laughing because at that moment you were in control of the situation, and she was the one being led around by her emotions.
Okay, I understand.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
Now, as soon as I heard you said it, I already saw 5 steps ahead in terms of how that situation could play out if it was just let to go unchecked.
Mm,
She would have made an argument based on emotion. She would have tried to defend it. It would have been wrong. She would have sunk her foot deeper in and say, I can't believe you're men, all, and it would turn into a man and woman argument. And at some level, Trevor would have been right, but that situation would not have harmonized into togetherness.
mm,
You get what I'm saying? It would be one person digging their heels into their position, even if their position is wrong, while the other person is digging their heels, standing on truth and saying, "Well, I right." But as Christians, is that what we want for our relationships, or is it for the other person who's wrong to understand and grow and relate to us from a point of that person is saying that out of love and not just to be right?
mm,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
But I digress. I just said that as an example. But in terms of emotional intelligence, you were the one leading that situation. Most times in our relationships, the women are the one leading the relationship. She'll say something to juke you, you get emotional, you fly off, you say certain things, and she's not emotional intelligent because she's annoying. She's emotionally intelligent because she knows how to direct your emotions.
Oh, I see.
Now, if the situation happened where she was saying what you want and he's saying, hey, that's an interesting point. I never looked at it like that. And she cannot get any reaction out of you, or she cannot lead you in any way emotionally. You're in charge of your emotion. I use that example all the time.
Yeah,
That
but
happens in marriage.
sorry.
Hold on, just
Sorry.
1 second. I'll say that and
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
pass the
Go
mic.
ahead.
That happens in marriages all the time. You came home from work, you were in a great mood. Something happened at the job, you cracked something, you did a good job, everybody was cheering for you, you reach home, you smiling, you bright. You open up the door, you say a nice good afternoon, hey baby, how you doing? I love you, mwah, and she vexed. I'm awful wrong when you enter the door. You kiss her, she even real kiss you, she just take the kiss on the cheek. You say everything all right? Yes. She answer you could. She give no emotion, nothing. All right, you go in the fridge. As soon as you open the door, you know what's funny? You know, it's just funny that every time she is the one who's in a bad mood. You came home and you were in a good mood. How is it that while she is talking and she states what she is feeling and what she's going through, that it changes your mood into a bad mood?
Okay.
You ever thought about that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, as men, we have to understand that it happens. Women generally are able, the women we have relationships with are generally able to change our moods to their whims and fancies. It doesn't matter you came in the house happy, she vexed. So forget your happiness. Let's deal with my vex. Now, if you were to flip it, you having a bad day or you angry about and she come in the house and she happy and whatever, no matter about your vex, she will change your vex into make it into a happiness. She will try and do certain things you like, try and manipulate whatever you're going through to make it about her happiness.
Yeah, I understand.
Right. So generally, the smarter you are as a man, the more susceptible you are in terms of emotional intelligence. You get manipulated easier because you're trying to rationalize something that's not rational. Feelings are not rational. Feelings have a different
Yeah,
nuance to it.
that's a big point there. That's a big point. So, okay, but here, Marvin. So, why is it that we are demonized for being nonchalant?
Well, boy, stoicism. Stoicism is a problem.
Problem.
It's not wrong. It's not wrong to be stoic, right? But you need to be able to stand in your frame while communicating to the other person, and that's where the problem comes in. You're supposed to be able to not be affected, but communicate properly. Most times, we throw the baby out with the bathwater. We just stay silent, we don't say nothing, and we stay unmoved. That's annoying for anybody. Yeah? If there's an issue and you're trying to get through, the least you can do is communicate, hey, I don't think I'm in a proper mindset to have that conversation right now. I realize things are getting a bit heated. Let's give it 10 minutes, 20 minutes, and let's see if we can come back and see if we can fix this. I really want to see our relationship get better. Is that all right? No, it's not all right. I want to talk now. Okay. I realize you want to talk now, but I don't see us talking now moving the needle in any direction that'll be positive for our relationship. I'm asking you to give me 30 minutes and then we can talk. Yeah? Let's just take 30 minutes, let's take up some deep breaths and then come back and have the conversation. I'm still being stoic, but I'm communicating that I won't be able to be a part of this communication. I'm not just not talking when she's talking to me. Now, after I've said that a few times and she still continues to talk, then I can go ahead, put my headphones in my ears, play some music or whatever, and wait for the 30 minutes time to go up. But you cannot not communicate or not tell people what's going on and expect them to understand or expect the relationship to develop.
I see.
That makes sense, fellas?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, but then you're saying that nonchalant is not the issue. It's stonewalling, silent treatment.
Right, stonewalling. Yeah. Being
Okay.
nonchalant shows, but again, the word nonchalant, it means like you don't care, right? Let me type that up. Nonchalant.
Oh, yeah, the way we use words these days, eh?
Yeah, that's the next thing.
Yeah,
The
yeah, yeah. You gotta,
connotation is more important than the definition, eh?
nah, definition is always important. Words have
Nah,
meaning.
hey, you didn't have my entire idea. I said the way people use words these days is crazy. The
Right.
connotation is is more important than the definition. I'm referring to the people that use words anyway. I'm not
Yeah.
referring to yeah,
Nah, words mean things.
yeah,
That's true.
Right. So basically, nonchalant is a feeling or appearing casually calm and relaxed, not displaying anxiety, interest, or enthusiasm. That's the word as an adjective. When using the term of a relationship, according to Merriam-Webster, someone who is relaxed and calm in a way that shows they're not worried or don't care about something. So now, if you're showing somebody that you don't care in a relationship, that augurs bad for the relationship.
yeah. That's fair.
Mm.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
being nonchalant in itself, I wouldn't green like that as a way to act in a relationship. You do care about the person, you do want to see something change. You have to show that you care about the problem. But you also have to express that as a man, you don't think now is the best time to handle that when the emotions are high. So let's give us some time to calm down and we can speak about it. Now, as men, what usually happens is after the pressure go down, after the feelings disappear and everything all right, what do? We don't go back to the problem. We try to
right.
leave it. We try and see, boy, I dodged that bullet. Let's see if I can get peace for
Under
the
the
next
rug.
2 years.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, let's see if I can ignore it for 2 more years. Nah, it won't go away because she still wants it to be addressed. She still wants to have the conversation.
Right,
She's dealing with something that won't go away in her head. That stuff living in her head rent free. You're going on a picnic. It's a very nice afternoon. You're having a romantic time, and in the back of her head, ask him about that time he did. Ask him about what happened there. It's just gnawing at the back of her head. She can't let it go.
Mm.
And in your mind, guys, that girl always looking for a time to mess around with her. Every time we're having a nice time, that girl want to bring up some old shit to screw it up. No, because it hasn't been dealt with.
right.
So she can't let it go.
Wow. Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
So,
So,
so should
when
we deal with the should we deal with the issue the way that they do?
Nah, we're not the same. We're not the same. You don't have to deal with stuff like a woman, but you do have to deal with it. Now, the reason we're different is when a woman is going through something, she processes it by talking about it. She'll talk about it 5 different ways, bring it up in different scenarios, try and get you to give her input so she can rationalize it in her mind and think about it. By hearing it come out of her mouth and processing it, she gets answers. Men are not like that. Something happened, you sit with it in your mind. You try and figure out what feelings will. Now, most men don't do that part I'm talking about. You try and attribute the feelings that you're going through. Because most of us don't even understand feelings. And I encourage all men to look at the emotional wheel and try to understand those feelings in that wheel. It'll do a lot to help you be in control of your emotions. Yeah?
mm.
Go through that and figure out what was I feeling? What happened? What brought me to that place? Why am I in this mood? What's going on? Men sit and ruminate and go over stuff in their heads. And after about 2 or 3 days after you've done that, then at some level you're ready to talk about it. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right. But for women, it's different. For a woman, if she's going through something, she has to talk. If she's not talking to that person, that means she doesn't trust that person or there's some gap between her and that person. So in her mind, you not talking means that there's a gap or there's a problem between the two of you. And she cannot rationalize why you wouldn't tell her about a problem when you're going through it. Why you don't want to connect with her. Why you're so distant. Why are you being emotionally distant from her. You see the problem?
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah,
I see.
you're looking for space to think, and she's trying to get you to talk.
Mm. Mm.
Yeah, because you're not a woman, you will not deal with issues the same way women deal with it.
Woman one.
Right, and you don't have to be ashamed of that. We're different. God made us like that for a reason. But what you need to do, gentlemen, is after you've come out of the bad mood, is after you sat with your feelings for a while and figured it out. Don't just sweep it under the rug. pull your woman aside and say, hey, 3 days ago, I know you approached me, you wanted to talk, and I wasn't in the space to talk. Here's what happened. That's the uncomfortable part. The uncomfortable part is being vulnerable and talking about it after you've gone through it. So most times after you finish it, you just want to finish with that. That's leave that alone. Not that finish already. I finished with that already.
Yeah.
But your relationship will never grow if you continue to be like that. For a relationship to grow, you have to be vulnerable with your partner. Now, if you choose a woman you can be vulnerable with, that's on you. You have to figure out why you keep picking women you don't want to open up to. That's a you problem.
Um,
Yeah, that's a
boy,
loud boy.
that is my loud on me because it's not like we just so happen to choose women we can be vulnerable with her. It's just that the average woman can handle what we can share or what we
Show
want
me
to
that
share.
data. Show me that data, bro. Where did you get that data from?
I bro, I don't know, in the mouth of two or three witnesses, everything just started.
Nah,
So yeah,
that's not how
bro.
you collect.
So
That's not how you
huh?
collect data, Bishop. The data is not
I
in the
don't
mouth of two or three witnesses. The, the data is in the mouth of 1,000 uncategorized samples. Whether you use a method of going through the. Yeah, I think I got cut off.
No, you
nah,
good.
nah,
You're good.
I heard everything.
Oh, sorry, I stopped hearing for a while. Yeah, we not the with the midst of two or three witnesses. That's not how you collect data. The data is a systematic study of information. You cannot
Yeah.
say all women are like that. There are
No, I didn't
good
say that.
bigger women.
That's not what I said. I didn't say
Yeah,
all.
yeah, yeah.
The average.
You said the majority.
Yes, I stand on
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and I would challenge you to provide the data to substantiate that claim. The same way when women say all men are dogs and all men will cheat, I challenge them to provide that data to substantiate that claim. All I can tell the women is the men you like or the men you affiliate yourself with are like that. So now you have to take it upon yourself to get men who are not like that.
All right, we
All
gotta get
right?
to the now, and
Yeah, and you would be wrong.
I wouldn't be
Because
wrong, bro. I wouldn't be
it
wrong.
is what it is. Let me out, let
I
me out, let me out.
I bet.
Let me let me throw something on you, right? Do you know that there are women who have no luck in relationships and would be glad just to have a man who would look at them?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. You think this woman would give you stress?
Say it again. The what?
You think that woman would give you stress?
Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
Boy, Bishop, I can tell you off the top of my head, I know a few women without even thinking, and I'm sure if I think I could get more. I know a few women who are emotionally stable. They came from a two-parent household. They don't have any issues. One is not Adventist, but the others I'm thinking of are Adventist women. It's just that in terms of what men consider attractive outwardly, they
Mm,
don't have that.
okay.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that's okay. If you're not attracted to them, I won't tell you go and be in a relationship with them. That's up to you. You're not attracted to them. Fair enough. But then to paint the majority of women and say, yeah, the majority are like that, I would have to disagree.
Well, Mom, let me ask you. Let me see if I can help share out with people. So, if you had to look at the women that you know, right? Maybe in your circle, um, or just the ones that you know. No, like, would you say the majority of them, like, wait, it kind of slipped in my mind what Trevor was asking, but basically,
What my point
yeah,
was based on the way women process information
uh,
and
Hmm.
the default response being an emotional reaction, men do not want to be vulnerable with women, general, plural.
right,
That's my point. I'm saying, and I'm saying because men do not, they want to avoid the entire emotional labor of having to the emotional labor, first of all, of being vulnerable to share the information, and then the emotional labor of having to manage her as she handles the information that I just shared.
Mm.
I am saying men choose not to share at all because women will naturally respond to the information in a way that does not encourage men to continue speaking. I am referring to all women, bro. All. I'm not referring to whether they're emotionally intelligent or not. I'm not even referring to that. I'm saying best case scenario, it will be difficult for a woman to be able to conceptualize all the information men want to share and be able to handle all that information and still be able to maintain an emotionally intelligent, safe space for the man to continue sharing. That is rare, Marvin. Rare. I don't need data for that.
Now that's a lot more. That's a lot more than what you said previously.
No, that is exactly what I said a while ago. I just explained it more.
Nah,
That is what I'm saying.
when you added that safe space into it, that's something else entirely. I'll tell you why. Nobody owes you a safe space.
Okay. What? No,
No,
like your wife.
nobody owes you a safe space.
Well, then you don't have to
have
end up you have to say then.
Nah, hear me out, bro. Listen to what I'm
But
saying. Listen, you see, if you can get what I'm saying and be able to apply it, you'll be in more fulfilled relationships, right?
Okay.
Now, here's the principle I'm trying to tell you. She doesn't owe you a safe space. She will flip out. She will say things, and the same for you. There are some things that you hear will trigger you. You don't owe a safe space. All what you owe is to be in control of your emotions. That's for you to handle.
just
Yeah.
now, it's
Even if she's
does um just now what you just said, what I owe her is to be in control of my emotions.
no for your what you owe yourself really and truly is to be in control of your
Okay,
emotions.
and
That's
what
on
does
you.
she owe herself?
The same space you have to handle her
Very
own
good.
emotions. That's on her.
Right. So that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. So if she
We
accepts
are
what she
we are
owes
all
herself,
what?
so if she accepts that she owes herself a control of her emotions, then when I share, she needs to hold her own. That's what I'm saying.
Now here's where we get off the rail. Right? And when women tell me it, I tell them the same thing. When men tell me it, I always to men to say the same thing. You cannot tell somebody else what to do. You cannot control what somebody else does. While you are in control of your emotions and she has to be in control of hers, there'll come many times where she's not. That have nothing to do with you for her to say, hey, you have to be in control of your emotions. Nah, bro. When she's flipping out, that's on her. You still have to be in your frame and you still have to be in control of yours. You
I
cannot
agree.
be, but what about the women? Every time I have a conversation with women about things that happen, but what about the men? You're not telling them that? That's a version of what you're doing here. Yeah?
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, we're not doing that. I'm talking to men, we're talking about men. She can flip out, do whatever she wants. That's her business.
Why?
Your business your business is to remain in frame, and your business is to be competent as a man in terms of your emotions and your psychology. Now, you'll talk to many women and they will not be safe to talk. Your responsibility is to make sure important business does not. In fact, your responsibility is not to be around the women in the first place. Let me just say that. If you're with a woman and you cannot be vulnerable around her, my bro, that's why are you still here? She could be that fine. She might, but that shouldn't be what's keeping you there. You hear what I'm saying? So now, for some reason, whatever it is, you chose to remain there. So the onus is on you as to why you still there and why you taking that chance. You get what I'm saying?
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
So if you, that's like that's like you have a dog and you want it to act like a cat. Nah, you got a dog, bro. If you want a cat, purchase a cat. But we want to force a frame onto somebody or person, and the person will not fit that frame. So the onus is on you, no matter how you try to flip it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, but to me, we were coming from a certain direction. I drove off into that.
Yeah, my bad. I guess,
What was
my,
the original?
anyway. No, you're right. You're right. My original point was the fact that men just, well, no, well, you were saying how um no one owes anyone else to be a safe space. You have to be your own.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And yeah, the bigger point I was trying to make is if you have to say something to a woman and you have to wait for a safe space, bro, you'll never get a chance to say what you have to say. What you have to do is pause the moment and create the opportunity for you to say what you have to say. Now, if it's about being vulnerable and giving out a secret and you don't want to do it because you don't think you're safe, that's on you. Self-preservation. But if it's something that has to be said about the relationship or something that's bugging
Oh,
you
that's
about
what
the
you're saying.
relationship,
Okay.
say it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Say
I
it.
get that. I agree with that.
Don't don't wait for a safe space and say, well, she's not making it safe. Nah, bro. Say it. Say it with your chest.
Yeah, I understand that.
Because here's what we're doing as men. We're creating a false narrative about who we are to women. And when I talk to most women and I tell them men are not like that, they look at me like, Marvin, you're the exception. And I'm like, no, men just don't tell you these things
Men are not
because they
like
know you do. What's that?
you said men are not like that. What
Yeah,
like in
because I was sometimes I tell women things and they say, Marvin, men are not like that. Like I try to tell them what men are like, how we are.
oh
Men
okay.
generally like sex. Men
Right.
generally like sex. We don't like emotional problems. We will not talk if we feel the place is hostile. And I get a lot of pushback
Right.
because women generally don't hear that from us. So they think of us as emotionally um, inept.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
They think of us as brutes or stuff like that, and they can just do whatever they want and our feelings won't get hurt. And when I explain to them how we approach certain things, they disagree. And I don't blame them, but it's almost like they're trying to woman explain to me how men are. And
Yeah.
Woman
yeah,
explain.
and when I
That's solid. Solid.
yeah, they try to woman explain men to me, and when I tell them, hey, I hear what you're saying, but is it possible that you're being misled by the men in your life because they know if they were to be honest with you, you would probably not view them in a favorable light.
Mm.
And it's in their best interest to have you believe or see them in that light because they want something from you sexually.
Mm.
Right.
Is that possible? Right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Right. And again, I blame us for that because we don't speak the truth because we believe that the truth will get us out of the favorable outcome, quote unquote, that we want. So instead of being real with a woman and showing her who you are, you hide certain things, you hide certain tendencies, and then the relationship is being built on something that's not true.
Yep.
And that's where we find most of the problems in terms of how we get along.
Yep.
Mm.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, but I was asking a question like in your circle or the women in like in the vast majority, right? Do you think women were able to handle, let's say, um, a, 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 a man being vulnerable? Do you think you know?
To what end? Vulnerable, explain vulnerable.
Well, Trevor, maybe you could help me out here. Like in your in what you were saying, like to what end were you referring to?
It's not being vulnerable.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, I just, bro, when I say vulnerable, I'm saying, okay, vulnerable in my understanding means that I am sharing information that is sensitive to me that most likely might elicit a negative reaction from you. Whatever that means, that's what I'm referring to.
Mm.
So
All right.
depending,
So
so sorry.
No, I was just saying vulnerable means to make yourself defenseless and open to
Yeah,
attack. That's
right.
literally what vulnerable means. To make yourself defenseless and open to an attack.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
So that can happen. That can happen in a variety of ways. That could happen in an argument where instead of holding fast, you say, "Listen, I don't want to fight with you. I love you. I want to make this work. But it seems like right now you're hurting. I don't want my wife to hurt. What can I do so we can have a solid relationship?" That's being vulnerable. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's another example of vulnerable, babe. I don't know how we're going to. I don't know if I know what I'm doing. I don't know if this relationship is going to work. I'm tired. Things are happening in my life. I don't know if I want to be here still.
Yeah.
Um, maybe this thing won't work out. Maybe I should just go back to my mother and get a divorce.
Okay.
I'm tired. I just can't do this anymore. I don't know. What do you think?
Okay.
You see that? You setting yourself up for a high fall.
Okay.
Because while that is being vulnerable, but you're creating doubts, you're creating uncertainty, and now the woman that you in a relationship with does not feel protected, does not feel
right.
stable.
Okay. Right. Okay. Good. Good.
That is what I was referring to. That
Right,
because if
right,
he tells me that, why am I, as the man, the stability of the relationship? I can deduce by simply taking 2 seconds to think. I can deduce that is how she feels. That is not a decision she's making. Why can
right.
I rationalize and figure out that she doesn't even have doubts about me and my character and my intentions toward her and the future of our relationship? That is how she feels today. And she is simply
Hmm.
asking for reassurance. Why can
Right.
my brain calculate all that? But when she shares, oh, sorry, but when I share something like that with her, then all of a sudden, oh, there's no security in the relationship. You're going to leave just now.
Right. Right.
Why?
You
That has
you
pissed me
answered
off,
your
bro.
question, huh?
That
You
has
answered
pissed me
your own
off, bro.
question.
How?
You answered your own question.
Why? I'm asking, why is it that way? That how I answer my question. Why is it that way?
Why can I rationalize that what she's going through?
Boss, she have a brain. She can rationalize too.
Right.
Even after she feels, she can rationalize too. She's not 100% feeling. She have a brain too. She can rationalize too.
Uh,
How
nah,
I
bro.
taking that. I taking that.
You know, you have to take it, but the fact of the matter is, we were given different strengths to make the relationship work. Yeah,
Right.
men were given the ability to rationalize and stay in frame and understand and see the big picture about things. Women were put there to build emotional connection, to create excitement, to almost bring a kind of chaos to the union. Now, when I say chaos, a lot of people think, how you can say that about women? How you can make it look like a bad thing? Chaos is not a bad thing. Chaos has a function. It creates nuance, it creates excitement, it creates life, it brings passion.
Mm.
Yeah? But in terms of stability, that's not its main focus. So you cannot expect a woman to be all that, to be a muse, to be inspirational and all that, and bring rationality too. We have different functions. That's
So
hers.
why we
And
have to
that's
bring
yours.
everything? Why
You
we
gotta
have to
bring
bring
everything,
everything?
bro. You gotta bring everything, my G.
That's a Marvin.
Ah,
Yeah.
Trev, take 5 seconds and breathe, bro.
Could it could it be that the role of a leader is not necessarily like a fair one?
Nah, dude, boy, it's never fair to be a leader. That's why I never want to be a leader in anything. I'm never quick to raise my hand and say, pick me, let me be the leader.
Right. So
Leadership,
in a
Pause.
relationship,
When you say leader,
right?
just now, eh? Are you saying that males in the relationships are the leaders of the relationship?
well, that's the ordained role.
We said again, mom.
That's the
He said
ordained
that's the,
role.
Yeah, that,
That's
yeah,
what Christ. That's the position Christ gave us.
yeah.
ah, I see. So you're saying, if I understand you correctly, you are saying that as a leader, it's a bit the we have a lot more to carry. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I thought in
We
the
have,
relationship specifically, yeah, not just as men, but in the
as a
relationship. Yeah.
leader, as a
Yes.
leader, period, you have more weight on your shoulder than anybody else. That's law.
Right. I see.
You can't fight that. That is what it is.
So
In
then,
a group work, they call you the leader. You're responsible to make sure everybody know what they're doing, everybody ready. Now, if you scared to do your job, that's on you. The buck stops with you, regardless whether you happy about it or not, because you wearing the title.
Right.
No matter how you feel about how you have to, if they have a person in the group you're scared to talk to and you don't want to talk to them and they do no work, that's on you. Yeah. But the moment you accept the title as a leader, you're stating that, okay, I'm responsible for this group. The buck stops with me. Whatever has to happen here, it's on my head.
mm,
Point blank, period. So
yeah,
you cannot go in a relationship and expect the same work from the woman as yourself.
mm. But then the that vulnerable um aspect we touched on, the one that sets us up for a high fall. I mean, that's the reality. So like, what
Yes,
do
and
we?
you're supposed to get that support from your boys.
Okay.
That's your wife is not or your woman is not supposed to be the one who supports you in that. Now, a lot of women will disagree and say, "How you can say that? You're telling the men to talk to us." That's exactly what I'm telling the men to do.
But you, that's to me speaking out of both sides of your mouth there.
No, I'm not. Okay, explain how I'm speaking on both sides.
Right? Because to me, you come in full circle now, because that's literally how I started the whole conversation. That we should
Explain.
not be sharing.
No,
We
I'm
should not
saying
be
in
sharing.
terms of in terms of miscommunication in the relationship. Yeah, something happened and there's a communication issue. You should
Right, right.
communicate,
I get that.
right?
I
A
know. I agree with
communication
that.
issue. Stay
I
with
agree
me.
with that.
A communication issue. There's a problem. Something is happening. You communicate that. Also, when
Yes.
you have doubts, when you have insecurities, when your feelings are getting in a place where you cannot manage, you should drop that on your woman. Most women will use that insecurity and multiply it in their mind, and that'll
Yes.
create further problems in your relationship.
Yes.
That's what
Right.
I'm telling you.
Right.
So
So I am saying.
you're
Right.
supposed to
Continue.
get that kind of support from your boys, from a network of elders or spiritual men or persons who
Right.
understand. So you can now go to your relationship with strength to bring that security and protection in your relationship.
Mm,
Okay. Cool. I'm cool with that. So, case in point, let's go back to the example you gave
Mhm.
about not being sure, right? The man sharing, I feel like this might not work. I feel like something I want to throw in the towel, that kind of thing, right? That's what you mentioned, right? You remember your
Yeah,
example?
something along those lines. Yeah.
Yeah, something right. So I'm saying that as a leader, you can't be the one to tell the group, I don't know what to do next, right?
Yeah, you tell a group the ship's sinking. I know what's going on.
Right. Good. So I
Abandon
am
ship.
saying, right. So if at any point in time I have doubts, right? Whether it's just an emotional low at the time or some insecurity or fear, whatever, and I have doubts, are you saying that I should not share these doubts?
Let me answer a question with a question. Yeah, and I want you to think about that and give me the best answer you can. What do you hope would come from sharing those doubts?
Reassurance.
Bruh, great.
So why are you saying, bro? But they want reassurance.
No,
I
no,
can't
no,
want
no, no,
reassurance.
no. I'm glad you answered that. It's not a trap.
Oh,
You want reassurance, you want support, you want emotional help, you want somebody to rub your back and tell you it's okay.
yes.
Right. Now that puts the woman in a almost a motherly role. Yeah?
Okay.
Just from a psychological standpoint, that takes her from someone who's being protected to someone who now has to protect. Now there's nothing wrong in that happening. I want to say that out loud to all the persons
Please.
listening. There's nothing wrong in that happening.
I was about to
But
crash out.
generally, the woman you have was not built for that. What
Okay.
happened more often than not is that she will feel um, insecure, she will feel concerned, she will think that
Right.
she's not safe, and she will start to panic. And you cannot blame her for that. There are some strong women who can take that and make it work and be there for you and
Right.
strengthen you. But most women in that dynamic will feel a sense of insecurity.
Right.
Let me let me flip it. Let me flip it to you in a thing you can understand as a man. Yeah? Let's say you go in somewhere and your girl come to you and she said, Trevor, there's this guy, I think he's so hot. Every time I see him, oh my God, he excites me. My insides, I get butterflies. I want him so bad. But I'm not going to do anything. I'm with you. I just want him a lot.
Right.
How that going to hit you, bro?
Well, I mean, she already said too much. She didn't have to say all of that. But, yeah. How I will feel, yeah, I'd feel a little nervous. Like, boy, if that man shoot his shot, I stick it that.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So now your mind is taking you to the future of what could happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you start thinking of all the bad possibilities of the worst case scenarios and how that could deteriorate your relationship.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, I cannot blame you for that. That's a normal reaction for a man.
No, just now, no. That's not my reaction. That's how you ask me how I feel. That is two
Bro,
different things. Marvin, that's
I
two
get,
different things.
I get you. You're making it personal. I'm trying to make a general
Oh,
statement.
sorry. Fine. Okay.
Yeah?
All right.
Because this is not about you personally. We're talking about how men and women operate. Now, what I'm saying, there might be a woman out there who can rationalize in her mind, okay, he's in a weak place. I just need to get him back until he gets his self confidence and we'll be good. So she can sit there and make that distinction and probably be the one to get you back under the ground and get you back on your feet and running and hustling for the family. There are women like that.
Okay.
Just like there are men who can hear a woman say that and die and think they know, well, that is red notice. Any day now that man can take the spot. I need to hustle. And you could still be there and shake it off and be in a relationship and nothing for that. But generally, when a man hear that, generally when a woman come to him and tell him that, that is a signal at the end. That relationship just going downhill from that point because a lot of insecurities, things that are insecure for a man in terms of relationship security, is in terms of his woman wanting him and his woman being faithful to him. Insecurities for a woman is that the man is going to protect me, he's a strong man, he has my back, I can be weak and fragile around him. We have different insecurities when we come into relationships.
All right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get that.
So so that vulnerability on our part, it triggers their insecurity. And her being vulnerable about a man she like and he's so fine and he have six pack abs and he talk to me and I melt, that triggers your insecurity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to communicate. I wouldn't advise men to do that. I mean, you can test it out and prove me wrong, all right? That's on you. But generally, when you're in that vulnerable spot, you go to your partners and you talk to them like that. When a girl wants to talk about a man she have a crush on, go to your girlfriends, talk to them about that.
All right.
That man need to hear that. What are you going to do? What are you going to do with that information?
Right. So in terms of the if the question is prompted by the other partner,
Yeah, be
what
honest. I mean, if somebody asks you a question, they should be able to hear it. But I can tell you the insecurity to bring up, it might be more annoying for you in the future than anything else.
So then
Is
I
you
should ignore the
choose.
question.
I'm not telling you to ignore anything. I'm telling you to have good judgment in the way you respond,
Yeah.
because it
Right.
might
So
come back
my
to
judgment
raise
is that women
insecurities.
can't handle it, bro. So I not change.
I mean, you have to know your woman better than anybody else.
All right.
Mm.
I can make a general statement on that. Like I said, some women are able to go for it, some women are not. But you have to make the best decision for your relationship. You're the captain of the ship.
Yeah. So then, um, I'm thinking like, I feel like, uh, perspective we have going around with, different amount of relationship is, really, it's, it's just you and me, really against the world. But then when I hear you now mention, okay, the guy should have his guys, counselor, spiritual elders, and so on. It's more one thing when I feel like well, it's not really just you and me against the world. It's like you yourself have a support system. You have, a brotherhood, and I guess the girl
You
is
that
a
thing.
female version of the same, right?
Yeah. Um,
Bro, it was never supposed to be us against the world, you know. That's a romantic notion of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, man.
That
It's
has
by
that has that has never happened anywhere in our history. That Bonnie and Clyde kind of thing. Then people were criminals, you know. I don't know how we basing a system of I don't know how we basing a proper system on the life of criminals.
Right.
It can't be you and me against the world. You in a system, right? You're in a family unit group. It has an extended family. That's part of the community, which is part of the society. You're in a church system. You at work. You have social arrangements. There's so many systems, and you want to ignore all that and put everything on the back of your woman, and the woman putting everything on your back.
Mm,
Urban
all
there.
right.
Urban.
I somehow that I think that makes more sense to me. I think that
But
answers the this question better than
I
well
think
not
that
better,
I'm too much there for today, you know.
more.
Urban.
I triggered I'm too much there for one day, you know.
Yeah, nah, that I think okay. Nah, I think that makes more sense
Yeah.
because there's this notion of exclusivity.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, man.
It they not they, but in my past experiences, exclusivity has extended beyond um it has become isolationism basically,
Right. Right.
right?
Right.
So exclusive now is you and me against the world.
Right.
You can't talk to nobody else about it. You cannot confide in anybody else. We solve our own problems by ourselves in our own way. um that's what exclusive is. And if you share with anybody else, is because you're kind of giving people my business and things about my life and
Mm-hmm.
uh that kind of thing. And I that is kind of why I have felt overwhelmed with being able having to carry everything I have and carry everything she have and carry everything my life have at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
That's
And
kind
that's
of
what
why I was
Sure.
like
That's
literally.
what men generally do. You are a typical man. That's what men generally do.
No,
But it was never
then
meant.
you get my point yet. I am not saying that's something we want to do. I am saying that usually it is interpreted as a threat if
Yeah,
men look for help outside the relationship. That's what I'm
yeah.
saying.
You interpret it as being weak.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So that is another um it explains why, like for example, men don't do counseling.
Mm-hmm.
They
Right.
need
That's a big one.
Okay.
Yeah, they need the help and they're looking for counseling. Why? Because that is for weak man, that is for men that are real problem. Them and weak, them and
Yeah.
can't solve their own problems.
Right.
That's
I
one
have
tough
no stress.
man.
What are you gonna do that for?
Yeah, that's a big one. I don't have stress. I calm all the time. Yeah, so
Nah,
that's a yeah,
that is
that
exactly it, my
complicity.
friend.
Yeah, nah.
And it's difficult for me as a male counselor when I see these things happen and I try to speak to men about it and I get that same reaction. A lot of us don't realize that the way society is now was not the original design. God created us for community. When God said, make your
Yeah,
light shine on
that
a
there,
hill,
that's big.
when God said, make your light shine, how are you making your light shine with just your wife?
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah? You're
yeah,
supposed to be out in the community, giving a good example of leadership, being an example of what a Christian is, so people can see Christ in you, right?
yeah. That's solid.
Uh, Yeah, and as men, we're supposed to have a group of men that we can come and talk to. Now, again, you don't have to be all mushy and put all your business out. But you'll ever realize as men, fellas, as you come together with a bunch of partners you cool with, you ever see when you leave, you feel energized?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it's always kicks, it's always a good time. We sit
Right.
and laugh,
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
we make old jokes. And by the time you leave, you feel energized.
Mm.
yeah.
Now, as a married man, and most married men can attest to that, you don't realize it, but you're in the house giving of yourself, giving of yourself, giving of yourself. She tell you something here, like you say, you know what, I a big man, I go tell you that. And you keep being the one taking the brunt of
Right.
emotional
That's what I was
stuff.
referring to earlier. Yeah,
Yeah, but it's not your wife that have to take you as the leader. You're supposed to meet with other leaders, other men on that Christian
that's
journey,
a
other
big
men
point.
trying to develop themselves,
Right.
and
Yeah,
that's how you solidify. That's how you. What's the word I'm looking for? You reinforce. That's how you rejuvenate yourself.
Mm.
yeah, yeah. But even that too, Marvin, is how do I say that? Like okay, you know how I just made the point a while ago how women feel like exclusivity also applies to information, like what can be shared, and
Mhm.
I'm saying that also applies to time too.
Explain.
I'm saying women want all our time too. That's what I'm saying. If
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
right,
you have to
that
have
is
boundaries. You
yeah,
have to
but
put boundaries on that shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
You have to let them know, hey, Thursdays it's time for the guys. We're gonna play dominoes somewhere, whatever. Because
right.
men don't meet up. Back in the day, it was crucial for men to have at least 2 or 3 days in the week to cool out.
Mm.
Back in the day,
Yeah, that used to happen on a regular basis. Men used to meet up
man,
just
should
just to
be back in
congregate.
the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
2 or 3 days,
Yeah. That's
bro.
fine.
the reason it's not happening now, the reason it's not happening now is because we've cherished this idea of individualism,
Right.
making it on our own. We don't need nobody. Boss, when we had society bridging out and we were trying to build communities as black people, the men would work together, the women would work together,
Mm. Mm.
right? So you'd
Mhm.
spend most of your time with men, rejuvenating yourself, reinforcing values and beliefs. The women would raise the children, do the housework, and then we'd come back together as a family at night and spend our individual time, and then go back and we do the whole thing again. That's how you build a community. That way, when you see your partner child doing something, you and that man have such a close relationship. You can tell them, hey, don't never let me see you doing that in Cashews again. And that man would thank you for doing that because he know the relationship I have with that fella, the relationship I have with Trevon. Trevon would never wish harm on my son. So whatever Trevon did there, he did it for the benefit of my boy. Because me and Trevon close like that. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But now we know emotional society. From time a woman hear a teacher beat a child, let me tell you something. Don't ever do my child like a kid. I raised my boy that. And we have that
right.
kind of ignorance developing out of emotion
Yeah, I
and
get that.
a misplaced understanding of discipline. But that's what community was built on. It was built on togetherness of the leaders of the family.
Yeah, man.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man.
And the leaders of the family would then come and elect a leader for the community. And the leader for the community will look after the best interests of the family and make sure the community grow to be great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And as men, we're abdicating that responsibility. We want to do our things in little silos, and then we fail, and then we want to cry to our women, and then we create dissension in the house. Y'all don't realize we don't understand what our purpose is. We don't understand how to use the resources we have to be better.
Yeah,
And that's where the majority of the issues come from.
yeah, that's a solid point, man.
So then, so then that would mean that even in the courting process, like a guy should have or should begin building that um network of men to liaise with and consult and themselves.
Well, I mean, not even
Bro,
caught. If I understand Marvin's point correctly, bro, I am in the church. I am the church. That is supposed to be my, like, that's my everyday life. That's I already have them partners. I already have a social circle,
Okay.
right? I already have a solid support system. The only thing that's new now is the guild. That's what I understand what you're saying. So,
Okay.
correct,
with that strong support system, I would be able to lead her, no matter what stage the it is. I have the system in place already, and
Okay.
that's what the church
correct,
is supposed to be. Well, that's what I guess society is supposed to be. But yeah,
Yeah.
correct.
But
Because the
like.
older generation is
Mm-hmm.
supposed to hand over to the new generation. Just imagine, Trevor, you go as a man who's going through certain things in life. There's a 16-year-old boy coming up, and that man think he know everything already. That man just see his first pubic hair, and he believe he a grown man. Nobody, nobody can talk to him. He know what he's going through. That's the folly of youth, right? That's the folly of youth. You just come on the scene, you think you're smart, them old fellas don't know what they're doing, and you go and you make the same mistakes that these men had to suffer for when you could have just spoke to them and they could have given you advice to
right.
progress in life without that mistake.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
yeah, yeah.
And
Yep.
that's what community did. It shielded you from that. You have a bunch of old fellas on the team. You say, fellas, boy, I had to have a thing called Invest Caribbean. Them fellas tell me if I just drop $500 in that, I can make $10,000 in 2 months. What y'all think?
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's so we could have stopped Invest Caribbean from day one if we had a network of smart men
Yeah,
leading
yeah,
other
yeah.
younger men.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Now, how do you how Marvin? What would be the best way to um um how do I explain that way? Like, okay, yeah, that Dwayne was able to connect with you because Dwayne have a brain, Dwayne mature, he surrounds himself with men older than
Yeah, but
him. Nah, bro, yeah, because you have a brain. Most men don't have a brain. So, like, I surround myself with people older than me, so I have access to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let's take like what? Not even we don't have to go down the line. Like Dwayne, there are men our age
Right.
that only talk to men at their age. They don't know
Exactly.
no more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the next thing I was gonna ask. But go ahead, Trev. Go ahead, Trev.
So I feel like I'm miles ahead of man my age that's supposed to know so much more because I surround myself with experienced men. Um how do we surround I guess how do we I don't know how to ask that question, but how do we create an environment for um I guess the other young men to have access to that information? I
Yeah.
find they also isolate themselves with just their partners, man that can relate to them on that specific thing and nothing more.
Correct.
Not
Correct.
not necessarily a learning curve,
Hmm.
but just we
I
agree
kind
on
of,
these
I
things.
kind of, I kind of
Uh,
get your question,
But just to
but the
add to
reason
that,
yeah,
is hard.
before you answer, just to add to that, even you also have the challenge of like you have older men, but they themselves are not that smart either. You know,
yeah, yeah.
they
Boy.
lack qualities. You know, so you also have that pitfall. You also have that trap, and so it can be a bit difficult to for someone who may not be as versed to those things in terms of their selection. You know, it may not be the best. You know, so like Trevor is asking, like, what do you say maybe is a good starting point? Like, where do we even begin? I don't know if that's what you were asking, Trevor, but yeah. But like, where do you think is a good starting point now? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll tell you the reason it's a hard way to ask, it's a hard reason to ask that question is because you cannot offer a product if people don't want to buy it. You never start you never start a shop. You never start a shop in a community selling tires and they don't have no vehicles or nobody see the need for it. The need has to be there for the market to be created. That's generally how it works in business. So persons who and the Bible says, seek and you shall find. I find all of y'all, well, y'all find me, or however you want to say it work. When you look for something and you pray for it and you ask God the Spirit to lead you, you find it. That's not human strength that brought this podcast together. There are a lot of things that bring men together and have conversations. You all saw me there. You all saw wisdom in what I was saying. So now we're here talking and we're having a conversation. The person looking, there has to be a need in the person in order for that need to be answered. Because God will not force something down your throat if you're not ready to receive it.
That's fair.
So we cannot force ourselves on a young man who don't want to hear. Yeah, you have to feel it. And when you reach rock bottom and you say, "Boy, Lord, help me," and then you say, "Boy, the other man Trevor, that man was talking some real sense there. Let me see if the person has to see the desire for assistance. You cannot create that in them.
I see, but like different today, guys. Like you can see, there's a need for something.
Yeah, but here's what happens. Here's what happens, bro. When you think of it like that and you try to interject or insert yourself in a young man problem, you become part of the problem. Because he will not see it as he himself making the change. He will see it as God said, I'm gonna just come in my life and tell me what to do and whatever, and I look my life getting worse.
Okay.
Fair. That's fair.
Okay.
Yeah,
Bro.
you can't force
They
people
say
to,
no
to
ways
change.
5 o'clock.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I guess we have to cut down on there, bro, because
Yeah.
that video.
Yeah. We're gonna run our well 14 minutes now, but we can bring the hand down. We can bring
Now I want you to realize every time we come here, we ask two questions and we're done. So you can use that as a gauge as to how many questions to ask for the show.
Yeah, right. I tired of telling doing that, Tired of that. Let the
Because I
record
see you have a multiple set of questions there, and all of them are interesting questions. So we can
Yes,
just
sir.
tackle two or three.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
yeah. I still pieces it out, Trevor. I had a chance. He's a brother. He's a brother.
Bro, listen to the men of experience, bro.
Robert.
Listen to the men of experience,
You're right.
bro.
You're right. You're right. You're
Yeah.
right. You're right.
Man, there's 2 pages of questions, and we answer one.
Yeah. So.
Crazy.
Yeah. Good to know.
What's wrong?
Um, Harry, I guess we could just stick up in and say, sorry, we have a busy week ahead. I don't want to take up more of our time, man. Um, right off the bat, boy, Trev, my boy, thank you again for taking time out of your schedules
Yes,
to
sir.
have a conversation. I feel like it was insightful, I feel like you guys enjoyed it as well. I for sure did.
Same.
Um, yeah, man, it's good to like after a tiring week. It's just good to just relax and just have a meaningful conversation. You know.
Yeah, man, always a pleasure talking to you, gentlemen.
Yeah, man. I appreciate this. So I guess to close, we could just. I'm not sure if you guys want to leave anything for our viewers for anything you want to carry on for the week. Final takeaways before we close. I could go first. Um, what I would say is to the guys, fellas, um, always be on the lookout for um, good advice from spiritual elders and fellas who can push you forward. It's important to have these men in your circle so you can avoid maybe some of the pitfalls, and you could learn from the experiences so that you can be on the right path, essentially. Yeah, that is my takeaway. Yeah, Philip, what about you?
Um, hmm. We should um live according to the Bible. Stop reading the devil's Bible.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, man, and we need to live a life that makes Satan want to just shoot us from a roof. Yeah,
With a crowd of people?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. For my closing thought, I'd say that for all men who are listening to this, if you made it to the end of this 2 hour presentation, bro, you're a real one because that's that's a lot of talking here. But what I'll tell you, if you're experiencing issues in your relationship or you realize uh, things aren't working out the way you want them to as a man, as a solution man, if reach out, don't isolate yourself. If you know any of the young men on this podcast here, you have access to them. Ask them for my number. Reach out. We can talk it out. I hate to see a young man who has so much potential believe that he's alone in this world and he cannot get help. He cannot get assistance. And hearing Trevon and hearing you guys speak about how it is as a young man not being able to find help, there's help. Yeah, I'll make the time. We can have a conversation. If any of you guys are going through something, reach out. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And with that said, guys, thank you again for listening to another wonderful installment to the Morning Experience. With that said, we'll see each of you guys in the next one. Yeah. Thanks.